Nearly everyone seems to think that all of this achieving world peace stuff is overly complicated and too difficult, when in reality, it's relatively simple. Humans, aka the human family, first arose on Earth about 300,000 years ago. Around 5,500 years ago, conquer minded humans began to violently separate the human family by creating 195 different countries that compete against each other for everything, including food. Over time, humans were bound to come back together in some sort of global community. But unfortunately, we came back together based on people seeking personal profit at the expense of other people, instead of building societies and systems that are for the people. This is the obvious main reason why humanity continues to collectively fail. Today, after realizing that current societal systems cannot generate efficient, stable, peaceful societies, people just need a most correct, peaceful, achievable plan regarding how to build communities and arrangements based on the needs of people. Then we need to peacefully transition to these arrangements. Recently, we discovered this most correct, peaceful, achievable plan regarding how to build communities and arrangements based on the needs of the people. And this all starts with asking a very basic question. Good people, are you really going to continue to let things go down like this? Human societies are currently experiencing problem after problem after problem with no end in sight. Are you really going to follow these fools into more war and economic nonsense without a plan of your own? Human societies in this physical material world will likely never be, quote, perfect, unquote. But human societies could be a whole lot better than they are now. Various sources say far less than 1 million people control this world. The other 8 billion people obviously need a most correct, peaceful, achievable plan. But we know how you're feeling. There's a lot going on right now. Many people are wondering, where's all this going to wind up? People need to finally realize the world is trapped between flawed, forced, fake peace and real, deadly, hot war. So even after current escalations subside, regions, nations, and the world will continue to face far too many serious problems because unfortunately, everyone is stuck in the same basic dilemmas that have existed on Earth for thousands of years. Please, hear us out. Let's say this arrow represents the development of human life on Earth. According to any encyclopedia, humans first appeared over 300,000 years ago. About 20,000 years ago, humans were living, hunting, eating, and socializing. 20,000 years ago, much of human life on Earth was living in an instinct driven balance. According to any encyclopedia, about 12,000 years ago, a few humans violently began to conduct invasion, conquest, war, and slavery to gain or to profit off of other humans. By about 6,000 years ago, in many lands, profit off of others' social and economic systems, including slavery, had become widespread, accepted, legal or quasi legal institutions. According to various sources, in ancient Greece, for just one example, up to 80% of the entire population were slaves. So, about 6,000 years ago, crucial elements of many human socioeconomic societies officially changed. About 6,000 years ago, in many societies, profit off of others' systems became the norm. Now, certain religions believe about 6,000 years ago, God created Adam and Eve, and they were living righteously in an instinct driven balance. But according to certain religions, after Adam and Eve bit forbidden fruit, society changed. So, although science and certain religions disagree about when humans were first created, both science and certain religions agree that about 6,000 years ago, societies changed for the worse. About 6,000 years ago, many societies headed further away from societal balance. About 500 years ago, many people were complaining about continued enslavement. Many people were complaining about the fact that kings, emperors, dictators, and slave masters controlled all the people. About 500 years ago, in certain parts of the world, a few so called elites proposed an idea. Instead of kings and queens controlling everyone, they offered a system called capitalism, where everyone supposedly gets the chance to control and profit off of everyone else. In other words, about 500 years ago, instead of ending profit off of others' systems, these systems began to be replaced with capitalism, which is a profit off of each other's system, and the world kept heading in similar wrong directions. Because capitalism is a profit off of each other's system, capitalism harbors many issues, including exploitation of workers and consumers. Capitalism harbors crippling debt and near continual, ever increasing price inflation. And even 500 years ago, many people clearly realized capitalism is a form of wage slavery. Even the word boss comes from the Dutch word baas, which means master. In response to the continual, inevitable failings of capitalism, about 180 years ago, socialism and communism began to develop. But these arrangements have just become state run versions of the profit off of each other's system. Today, some countries continue to utilize theocracy, which is a religion infused state run version of the profit off of each other's system. In other words, using capitalism, socialism, communism, and theocracy, most of the entire world is obviously utilizing a different version of the same flawed profit off of each other systemic foundation. The following should be widespread, crystal clear common sense, but it's not. Regions, nations, including America and the world, will most likely never, ever achieve true, lasting efficiency, stability, and peace while humans use profit off of each other's systems. Using these ways, people are like crabs in a barrel, constantly climbing on top of each other as we all try to carve space or escape the barrel. These ways obviously generate problem after problem after problem. These ways continually generate clash after struggle, after contention, after rivalry, after conflict, on and on and on. Profit off of each other's systems make classism and racism worse. These systems decrease human abilities to prepare for and respond to natural or man made disasters. Please realize that profit off of each other's systems cause and or perpetuate and or are related to nearly every major local, regional, and global problem. Profit off of each other's systems are your main dilemmas. These systems are the misconfigured societal foundations that anti humanity minded people use to steer local, regional, and global affairs in far too many wrong directions. Good people, the way your world is set up, 195 countries with governments and 360 million corporations and 8 billion people are all competing against each other to not starve. We're sorry, but this socioeconomic configuration cannot lead to efficient, stable, peaceful societies. We have to ask, how can you continue to live like this? For profit, much of your food is prepared to spoil as soon as possible after you buy it. For profit, nearly everything is designed to be as addictive as possible. For profit, your do unto others guidance has become do others before they do you. How do you not immediately realize these ways are doomed to fail humanity over and over again? Now, in the year 2026, much of the world is in turmoil. Times seem to be escalating. Certain critical situations seem to be spiraling out of control toward worse calamities. Is this what you want? To live in a world where so many people struggle while everyone seems to be stuck in constant personal, corporate, political, and or governmental conflict as we all periodically head toward worse conflicts? Is this what you really want? To continue to live in a world where contested empires rise and fall while everyone is caught in the social, economic, and military crossfire? So, what are the solutions to all of this anti humanity nonsense? Some say we need more violent revolution. According to any encyclopedia, there have been over 4,500 violent revolutions throughout human history. While all these revolutions violently got rid of the leaders, these revolutions left the profit off of systems intact. So, while corrupt leaders were replaced with new leaders, because the same systems remained in place, new leaders eventually became as corrupt as previous leaders, and the world just kept heading in the same dysfunctional directions. We do not need more violent revolution. Others say Americans need to vote for more Democrats. America has been bouncing between Democrats and Republicans for about 250 years. All of this has just gotten much of the world where it is today because we keep using the same flawed systems. So we ask again, what are the real solutions to incessant local, regional, and global dysfunction? As strange as this may sound, solutions exist right in front of your eyes, but most people don't see them. For thousands of years, many righteous cultures searched for the most perfect model. This model describes how to arrange human societies so everyone has access to air, water, food, homes, and things without the need to fight over resources. Ancient and modern day Kemetic philosophers, Egyptologists, and Mayans sought this information. The collective in African American communities, Umma in Islam, and La Raza in Mexico seek to identify ways masses of people can coexist peacefully. We recently discovered this most perfect model. Amazingly, this model is a near literal blueprint that people can use to finally build efficient, stable, peaceful societies. Here it is. Please try to think of a group of millions or more parts, parts that all need resources, parts that all work together for the benefit or for the profit of the whole group. Creation has given us many examples of groups of millions or more parts that work together for the benefit or for the profit of the whole. An example of the most perfect model to configure human societies is any typical human body. The typical human body consists of trillions of cells that all need and receive resources and that all work together for the benefit of the whole body. Any typical human body has resource distribution systems called a bloodstream. All parts of any typical human body conduct work. The applicable similarities to human societies are endless. By modeling human economies after the inner workings of any typical human body, every person on earth would partake upon the output of humanity. Using this profit for each other arrangement, according to certain calculations, a 3 to 4 day adult work week could produce all the goods and services humanity requires. In the overly complicated profit off of each other economic systems we use today, nearly no one completely understands how they work. By modeling human economies after the inner workings of any typical human body, every adult human on Earth could more clearly see that systems are working properly. They could more readily verify that all people have access to the output of humanity. By modeling human economies this way, people would have mostly everything we have now without all the built in conflicts and problems. By modeling human economies this way, resource production, packaging, distribution, and so forth would be so much more efficient. Many collective human activities would be far less harmful to nature and to the earth. Current misconfigured profit off of systems will always generate poor people who need. In other words, while we continue to use profit off of systems, the poverty problem and many other major problems will most likely never be completely solved. By modeling human economies after the inner workings of any typical human body, every person on earth would eventually be at least upper middle class, such that the concept of class could become irrelevant. By modeling human economies this way, we will be using the societal configurations that creation utilizes and recommends. A light should be turning on in everyone's head right now. Instead of systemic configurations that are designed for humans to profit off of each other for the benefit of self, we are describing a way to configure human societies such that people profit for each other for the benefit of everyone. In case you missed it, the solution is we simply need to shift from profit off of each other's systems to profit for each other arrangements. And we are describing the detailed blueprint to accomplish this. People, you must realize, in the past, conquerors carved up the world. This officially separated humans from the whole of humanity. Today, conquer minded profit off of systems continue to decimate humanity. Instead of systemic configurations that are set up based on the ways that conquerors think, we are describing ways to configure human societies based on the ways that the creator of life thinks. Whatever you call that creator, even if you don't believe in a creator, this is how efficient, stable, thriving life naturally operates in the physical world. At this point, we could speak seemingly forever about the obvious benefits humanity would gain by peacefully transitioning societies to the socioeconomic resource production and distribution arrangements that we are describing here. We could also speak at great lengths about the best ways for societies to peacefully transition to these arrangements. We recommend transitioning slowly in many different regions over a 20 to 25-year period. Begin by agreeing to transition military members to other job functions. Then build human resource bloodstreams that cycle necessities and resources to every human being. Current underutilized and misutilized technologies, such as 3D printing and the likelihood that free electrical energy can be generated from Earth's atmosphere, these things could make this transition far easier and peaceful than most imagine. Come on, the US and some other governments only plant male trees, mostly so people won't have access to free food. These and many other ridiculous policies need to end immediately. We could continue to speak more about these arrangements and the best ways to peacefully transition to these arrangements, but we really shouldn't have to. Every adult human being knows, in general, how a typical human body functions and distributes resources throughout the entire body. Regarding control, profit, and classism, in any typical human body, everyone knows the leg does not need to rule the finger, and the finger does not need to rule the leg. The liver does not function based on the profit for self motive. In other words, the liver does not need to sell blood to the kidneys for the personal profit of the liver. That sounds ridiculous. Instead, in the profit for each other arrangements that we are describing, the liver has incentives. That is, the liver is motivated to allow blood to pass through the liver to the kidneys for the profit of the whole body. The typical human body does not trickle resources to one part of the body while another part of the body hoards resources. The fingers don't live it up while the arms and legs starve. If that situation went on for too long within any typical human body, that entire body will become extinct. Every adult knows these things. Regarding war and terrorism, in any typical human body, one hand would not need to wage war against the other hand. The liver and every other body part would not feel the need to terrorize the bloodstream because, due to the profit for each other arrangements that we are describing, terrorizing the bloodstream would hinder blood flow to itself. In general, after a human body eats or ingests resources, the body's blood streams cycle those resources through every part of the body. Imagine not competing against each other to not starve, but using arrangements where we can compete to be the best for each other. Imagine people working to contribute to the output of humanity while clearly seeing that everyone has access to humanity's output. Everyone should now be able to see these simple, obvious truths. We are describing achievable socioeconomic configurations that would allow individuals and societies to eventually thrive together, peacefully. The structures to accommodate these changes have already been laid out in nearly every country's constitution in the forms of calling for renewed constitutional conventions. If enough people called for societies to peacefully transition to profit for all arrangements, the world would finally, eventually change properly. More information about this topic can be found in this book. This book is available at all book distributors.